Asia is booming. That's the story everybody is currently talking about. It has huge GDP growth and is the biggest continental economy in the world. But it's not just India or China that everybody is talking about. If we scratch beneath the surface, you'll find that, for example, the Asian countries have been growing phenomenally with about 5% a year over the past few years. In the same way that foreign multinationals are vying for a position in this new interesting region, the race is on for countries and cities to attract foreign investment, as well as companies to establish hubs. How do cities convince multinationals to establish a major presence? It ultimately comes down to convincing them that they can overcome issues typically associated with doing business in Asia. What are the main challenges that companies are seeking to overcome? First, in many Asian countries, administrative and bureaucratic tasks can be relatively time-consuming. Additionally, aside from the official red tape, a number of countries have severe problems with corruption. Getting caught up in a corruption scandal can easily spell the end of a foreign multinational's operations in Asia, as British pharmaceutical giant GSK had to painfully experience. Furthermore, with a few notable exceptions, much of Asia is starting from a relatively low level in terms of digital infrastructure and innovative capacity. From the significant cultural differences, a number of challenges rise in the area of human resources. Numerous reports touch upon differences in work ethic, for example, which can easily lead to tensions. Another issue to consider in the domain of human resources is the educational level of the workforce. The qualities of university degrees vary significantly and need to be taken into account when recruiting a local workforce. Quality of life to attract expats is a further important criteria when evaluating the location for a hub. This will enable a company to build its human resource base. In very general terms, physical infrastructure appears to be relatively well developed in most Asian countries. However, strong regional discrepancies still persist. However, the level of financial infrastructure is quite sporadic and needs to be taken into account during a market entry, especially if financial services are an important cornerstone of a company's strategy. A last but very important challenge often arises from changing political stability in the region, which can quickly turn a multinational company's plans sour. So the question arises, how do Asian cities market themselves as a business hub, and what difficulties do they face? Let's take a look at how some different Asian cities position themselves and whether they live up to their promise. Our first stop brings us to Jakarta, which has been in the news lately as a gateway to Indonesia's enormous market of 250 million people. Their low-cost, manufacturing-driven economy is an enticing market due to its sheer size. The government has developed a strategic master plan for the metropolitan priority area in the Jakarta region, focusing on high value-added economic growth, improved quality of life, and eco-friendliness. Yet, the reality is still far from the ideal, with serious gaps in business infrastructure. A city with a world-class business infrastructure lies on the shores of the South China Sea. Hong Kong has evolved into one of the most successful and stable business hubs. Their solid strategic planning enshrines Hong Kong's core values: free enterprise, innovation excellence, and quality of living, which is reflected in its high ease of doing business ranking. The local government is highly active in promoting Hong Kong as a flying dragon, linking international modernity with a gateway to China. The well-established financial and trading hub has, however, recently come under threat due to uncertainty about the city's political future. Why go to Hong Kong if you can go straight to the mainland? Shanghai has strong backing from the Chinese government, setting up a unique free trade zone and pushing for the metropolis to become a knowledge city by 2030. Besides its thriving financial industry, Shanghai has been able to attract highly innovative tech companies. Its main plus is the relatively frictionless market access to the rest of the Chinese mainland. However, the large cultural differences are a serious obstacle to doing business and establishing an attractive environment for expatriates. The main pitfall in Shanghai is the selective promotion and discouragement of foreign investments through its negative list. Although a number of cities have positioning strategies, Singapore is the only one with a long-term, holistic approach. The Economic Development Board, the EDB, channeled investments of about $9 billion in 2015 to promote Singapore's four fundamentals: trust, knowledge, connected, and life. Singapore actively promotes integrity and reliability through implementation of the rule of law, intellectual property protection, and a number of tax incentives, such as the Development and Expansion Initiative. This fundamental is composed of two elements: a highly educated domestic workforce on the one hand, and a relatively open immigration policy to help expand the talent pool on the other. Furthermore, the Agency for Science, Technology and Research, A*STAR, operates 12 research centers in different disciplines to ensure a steady supply of new innovation. Aside from its advantageous geographic location, Singapore boasts an outstanding international and domestic transport infrastructure. To ensure international connectivity, the government is pushing to sign further trade and investment guarantee agreements. Last, but not least, a strong emphasis is placed on quality of life. Strict laws ensure safety, while an active and cultural lifestyle is vigorously promoted by the government, ranging from art galleries and theatres to sporting facilities and green areas. The holistic planning approach is impressive, but does Singapore actually deliver what the Economic Development Board promises? Remember the challenges we mentioned in the introduction. Let's take a look if Singapore actually has what it takes to succeed as an Asian business hub. Administration and regulations that typically strangle business activity are kept to a limit, which is reflected in Singapore's solid ranking over many years in the ease of doing business. Companies benefit from low import duties and a competitive corporate tax rate of only 17%. Singapore's excellent top 10 results in the Global Corruption Perceptions Index is backed up by people who have their feet on the ground.
Maybe one very strong point for Singapore is, well, there is no corruption compared to other Asian countries, which gives a huge advantage, and the trust for international companies to actually settle down in Singapore and use it as a base.
A number of companies, such as Bayer Crop Science, make good use of government cooperations in innovation and digitalization.
They provide collaboration space and collaboration opportunities. So Bayer, for instance, we partner with the Economic Development Board of Singapore, who invest in technologies, for instance in digital farming technologies, where they're pivoting from their trade-based focus in the last 50 years, now more into an innovation and technology space.
Cultural differences persist, but are mitigated by Singapore's profoundly international demographic profile. This makes it easier for companies to overcome cultural barriers and issues associated with human resources. Leading business exponents we spoke with confirmed this widely held perception. Singapore's top-tier universities, the National University of Singapore and Nanyang Technological University, are doing a great job of producing a talent pool.
We're able to find the right talent here. Okay, it's really a melting pot. You have top 3, I think, universities in Asia are based here in Singapore. Huge talent pool, which allows us to pretty much get the talent. Now, that's not only for Singaporean talent. Obviously, Singapore attracts students or graduates from around the region, and so it's just a perfect place for us.
The only point of uncertainty concerns whether Singapore will have an open immigration policy to allow for the inflow of international talent. However, once the talent has arrived in Singapore, they will be intrigued by the quality of life. Mercer's Quality of Life survey has consistently ranked Singapore as the best city to live in Asia. Singapore's low crime is notorious, but a less known fact is its extensive green areas, covering almost 50% of the city. Singapore's reputation as a financial center parallels Switzerland's with $2.6 trillion of assets under management. Its physical infrastructure is outstanding, including an airport handling 60 million passengers a year, a port handling 32 million cargo containers annually, as well as excellent roads and public transport. Lastly, the most encouraging aspect of Singapore is its impressive political record, having had stable rule since its independence in 1965. Despite this positive outlook, Singapore also faces difficulties for the future. Stagnating productivity levels and demographic issues may work against Singapore's position as a hub. To ensure that they will be able to hold their own against strong competition from other hubs that are catching up fast, Singapore will have to address these difficulties in their strategic marketing. Whatever the future holds, it will be an exciting one.